we're getting into the juicy stuff. So when to use it. So for us, it's a really great way to start a project where we don't necessarily have all the features defined. If you don't have a full plan set or all the details brought to you, the client likes you, wants to sort of like lock you in or lock you up, or they've passed through your funnel, you filtered them, you vetted them, like all that's looking good. In a fixed price world, it's very easy for you to need to define every single item in the scope. So we would call it like dirt to doorknobs, but where you have to have everything defined because you're pricing a certain style of something, you're pricing hollow core doors, you're pricing a certain floor or pricing a certain countertop. So if you don't have all those selections made, that can be kind of a clunky process. So that can be kind of a longer sales process than you could do if you had a cost plus model, because you can get someone signed under a professional service agreement before those are all defined based on budget. So when to use it, maybe you don't have the full scope of work of the job yet. The details aren't fully defined, or it's a design build. So who wants to unmute themselves and give me a definition of a design build?
We've just amalgamated more of a design build feature where we used to be a lot of design bid, where you've got designers out there doing drawings for the homeowners, and then the homeowners are sending these drawings out to multiple different contractors. So we're all bidding it, trying to get the job. Whereas design build is where the client comes to you, you secure your designer that fits best for their style, and then you work with them to work towards their project, and you're working with their budget in mind. And you bring it all together to actually have an outcome of doing their project.
That's great. Exactly that is when you wouldn't necessarily have all that stuff defined yet. So you don't actually have maybe plans yet. Maybe you've got a lot, maybe you've got a budget in mind, but they don't actually have everything all defined. That's where we can really, in a cost plus world, you can really shine, is because you can step in, become their builder or renovator before that's fully spelled out. So thank you, Kyle, for chiming in on that. Time sensitive projects. This is again, maybe where a client is, you don't have, they're held up with either permits that are expiring or they have dates to complete a renovation. Quoting, how long does that take, everybody? How long does getting quotes, finding getting estimates? This is a lengthy process. So when you're doing fixed pricing, you want quotes. You need those quotes to come in. There's just time just seems to elapse, especially thanks to COVID and everything. This is a long process. Quoting is a long process. We don't quote. I'll build you a budget, but I'll show you how to do that too. But I'll build a budget and I'm paid for it. I'm paid to build you a budget. You've already agreed. You already like me before we've even built that. So on a project where they want to move a little quicker, this could be an option because you don't have the luxury of just getting plans, then sending plans off to 5, 10, 15 different trades, and then getting all that back, vetting all that, filtering all that, dumping it into your documents, and then pushing it out the door. That is a long process. So again, there could be an avenue where you can use a cost plus situation where it gets the ball rolling, gets them on your schedule, gets a contract signed. You can put them in the calendar. You know you're going to do it. You just don't know maybe what yet. You don't have the full definition of the job, but you know you're locked in. You know the rates you're charging. You know the markup or margin you're putting on top of that. And you can count on that project being a go, even though there are some things that are not yet defined. Another avenue when to use it, rough market. Anyone experiencing a rough market? This is one that we already had cost plus as a model pre-COVID. This is a model that we've running for about 4.5 years now, but gosh, by golly, it has saved our biscuits a couple of times. Price of a 2x4 going from $4.99 to $12.99 is a perfect example of that. On a fixed price job, there is absolutely a way to get around that, and you need to, and it's called a price escalation clause. We can send you that if you need it, but you got to be monitoring that. And unless you're sitting there refreshing the rates of lumber, that can be something that slips through the cracks versus a cost plus. Our clients just pay the cost when we buy it, and then they pay the plus on top of it, which is predefined and agreed to. So again, in rough times and rough terrains, it sure can save you some grief there. The last one it is probably the most important one. All of this comes down to risk and risk mitigation. When the level of risk you're willing to take is above your threshold, as in a cost plus model or cost plus building allows you to perhaps take on a project or take on a renovation or a new build or whatever that is outside of your comfort zone to price, right? So it's all about risk. Is that if you're the risk exposure that you're going to take by putting in your fixed price bid or putting in your quote with your contingencies and all that stuff properly. Some people, it's all over the map. For me, it's about $100,000. Under $100,000, I can quote that pretty well. I'm comfortable in that space. The under 100K, I can quote that profitably. I can monitor that. I can nail that. I can do my postmortems. I can track my actuals, and I can execute a job at about $100,000 with all of the what ifs and contingencies and risk mitigated under that roof of $100,000 and make that possible. You get into maybe a renovation that's above that. And for me, speaking personally, after $100,000, there are just a few too many moving parts or selections not made or whatever it is, that at $100,000, I could then easily just switch and say, for this project, I'm going to propose a cost plus model. And they go, what's that? And then I have this conversation with them and they go, oh, that sounds fair, or that sounds fine. Because again, it's shared risk at that point. If anything goes wrong or anything changes, you're allowed to have open conversations and open communication with the client about changes that are foreseen. So again, it's really about mitigating and monitoring your own risk levels. And we're going to segue into when not to use it here next. So when not to use it. So when not to use it is going to be when projects are straightforward and simple. So this is going to be, let's call this one a deck. Let's call this like a window in and out. Let's call this something really, really simple, really, really straightforward. You don't need to use cost plus because again, back to that risk thing. Why would you? Why wouldn't you go to a fixed price model where you know you've got, you can really push and maximize your profits. You can sell a bit more on maybe some, I don't want to say surge pricing, but sell on some value. You can push those numbers a little higher. You can really try and capitalize and maximize your profits on a fixed price because it can be buried and you can hide some of those numbers in there and you can really try and sell that on a really basic project. I wouldn't put that on a really complicated or a tricky renovation where you're going to potentially run into snags, trips and falls. But on straightforward projects, we still do a fixed price model because we can just put an estimate forward. They say yes, and then we just hit send. Versus actually tracking the time and tracking the materials and tracking all of our costs. So that's when not to use it on really straightforward projects. Production homes, that's another one. That's not what we do. But if you're just a framing company or you are single trade or industry specific or niche. Yeah, if you're niche and then you maybe don't need to use this all the time. You don't need to exercise it. Because again, you're monitoring your risks, you know what you're exposed for, and you can go for it. So again, production homes would be another example, or where the scope is well defined and the selections are already made. So again, when you're given a set of plans and there's this is exactly what we want. These are all the finishes. I just want you to quote these finishes and not a single other one. Well, again, why would you wouldn't need to push into that cost plus model because you can hammer this all out. You can quote them exactly what they want and move forward. We're seeing that happen less and less because people are not really planning their projects now. They want someone now, and they want to sign people and all this stuff like that. Because again, the industry is just really fucking busy right now. But that's when you would not use it. The last one is the opposite of the last bullet point on the last slide is when the level of risk you're willing to take is below your threshold. So in your comfort zone, in a risk level that you are willing to expose yourself to, that you can, you can really lock in all of those numbers at a fixed price, quote the job, use your basic, your job cost sheet, push that out the door, get the job and nail it. And you decide for your business what that number is, what that threshold number is for you and your business.
Hey Rockstar, if this video resonated with you at all and you want a proven plan and pathway to take your contracting business to the next level with me and my team of experts, click the link below and apply for a free 15-minute pathway to Profits Call.